Yo, what is good, everybody? It is your boy Golden Falls, Golden What Ifs, whatever you want to call me. I'm back. This is a brand new What If. What if Deku was trained by Master Roshi, part 1 of 2? And as always, make sure to show some love. Leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below. Shout out to my boy Master Elite. He's been around for a very, very long time supporting the channel. He gave me a couple suggestions. I always tell him, like, hey, if you got anything in mind, send them over my way. Normally he has some pretty good suggestions, so I always tell him if he has any ideas, make sure to send them to me. And this was one of them because I've been really hooked on doing some My Hero mixed with Dragon Ball stuff. And honestly, I think my Master Roshi, honestly, a callback to one of the first what ifs I ever did was what if Naruto was trained by Master Roshi, something that I might have to end up remaking in some capacity eventually. But of course, that is way back in the day. So I was like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's do what if Deku was trained by Master Roshi. So that's what we're doing. Don't worry. I do plan on doing other animes. I actually was preparing some stuff for a Naofumi what if. So if you're listening to this right now, the next one I want to do is what if Naofumi was the legendary battle axe hero. But that's just for those who remember those back in the day. And yeah, I plan on doing some of those as well as some Demon Slayer stuff. So we have some stuff definitely up ahead, but I'm trying to stay consistent with the daily what ifs. So I gotta try my best to mix in what I can here. Now, with all that said, sorry for yapping so much here, and I don't want to waste much more of your time, and I want to get right into it. So let's get it. Izuku Midoriya is born into a world full of quirks, or well, superpowers, or something along those lines. But he was born, and at the age of 4, he would actually, or eventually at the age of 4, he would learn that he doesn't even have a quirk. And this would make him really, really upset. I mean, he straight up can't be the hero he wants to be. He can't be the hero that he believes he could be if he had a quirk in the first place. So he would go throughout the rest of his life from, 5, 6, 7 years old as he progresses, as just, he's really sad. He wants to find ways to become a hero, but he can't figure it out. He doesn't know what to do. He has no idea what he should do in terms of becoming the hero he wants to be. And this would eventually lead him to one day that will change his life forever, or would change his life forever. And that is a trip with his mother on a bit of a kind of like a cruise ship. And as they're on this trip, he's having a good time, enjoying himself away from kind of this kind of world of quirks and all these people, believing, oh yeah, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that. So he gets a chance to really take his mind off of things, not worry about super things, and not really think about various different things that could or may happen in the near future. And all he can think about now is just this enjoyment, this time with his family or with his mother, and this time to relax, have a good time, and take a load off. And as this is happening, as all this happening, he'd be standing by the edge of the boat or the edge of the ship or the cruise ship. He'd be looking over, admiring the view, but out of nowhere, a random kid on accident would even push him overboard. Everybody would panic, looking for him, trying to get him help, throwing stuff overboard to try to get him to safety, but they wouldn't know where he went. They would lose him, and they don't know anything that happened. They don't even know where he went, what happened to him, or what's going on. And Inko is in distress, saying that they need to save her little boy. They need to do something. But luckily enough, Izuku would be saved, but not by your typical hero, not by your typical anything. It's actually a turtle. Interesting. A turtle would save Izuku, taking him to an island nearby and putting him down. And when Izuku would wake up, he would wake up laying down and sitting up to see that there's an old man that actually was there helping him get back to normal health. And this old man would introduce himself as Master Roshi. And this is shocking to Izuku. He doesn't know what's happening. He questions everything. And then Izuku asks, is he a martial artist? Does he know how martial arts and stuff like that? And then a turtle will come out of nowhere and say that Master Roshi is the greatest martial artist this world has ever seen. And Izuku would be like, did that turtle just effing talk? Like, what the hell just happened? in which, of course, Master Roshi would do some explaining about who he is, what's going on, and kind of what he is as well. And he tells him that it's about that time to try to get him home, but Izuku waves his hands and says, if he's the greatest martial artist to ever live, if he's someone like that, can he help him become a hero? Master Roshi looks at him and he just shakes his head. He would ask him, why would he want to have his training if he probably has a quirk like everyone else? He has powers, right? In which Izuku tells him that he doesn't. He doesn't have anything. He feels useless, and he gets told that he's useless all the time. In which Izuku, well, he says this and he seems extremely sad, and Master Roshi tells the kid, you know what? Alright, I'll train you then. And he tells him that he will train him and they will be in touch, and they will get, he'll give him a couple things that he needs to definitely do, but they will meet back here to train very soon. And he'll go get him and tells him not to worry, that he'll know where he is, and that he'll figure it out, right? Like he basically tells Turtle to tell him where he dropped him off, and wherever he drops him off, basically to meet him back there. In which Izuku, well, he gets basically taken back from by Turtle, and he heads home, and eventually he would arrive back home, and his mother would be ecstatic to see him. They would be happy. They would have thought that he might have died during that, but now that he's back, she is super excited. But he explains what happened, who he saw, who he met, and this is when she realizes that thanks are definitely in order, and she definitely needs to say thank you to that old man. But Izuku's like, I don't know if that's the best idea, because, well, it seems like Master Roshi's a bit of a creep. You could say to an extent, right? He's a bit of a creepy fellow, and he has a tendency of, well, looking at women, you could say, right? And Izuku kind of is like, Mom, I don't know if that's the best idea, but he did tell me that he can train me. He can train me to be a hero and train me to get stronger. In which Inko says that they'll figure out a way to do so, and eventually they would head back to that same spot day after day, and eventually, well, Master Roshi would show up, and Master Roshi would take the kid back to the island to train him as much as possible. Now, for starters, the training, before it actually happens, Master Roshi wants to determine the abilities of his student, or in this fact, Izuku Midoriya. So he wants to determine what level of training would be suited for them, so he has him do kind of various different things, right? Various different kind of fundamental training, from kind of just a speed test, how fast can you run, and then other various things along those lines. And he begins to, even after a bit of a speed test, and after he shows how fast he is, being, let's be honest, not that fast, Master Roshi shows that he is very fast and explains the idea or the principle of the Kame style. And as he's explaining this, he basically brings up the idea of overcoming the human wall. And he tells them that eventually he will be able to break through that wall itself, giving him kind of that push forward and that chance to really do something better than you can imagine. And the first thing he has him do is actually go up to try and basically find this rock that he throws up on a nearby area, you could say. Not too far from the island. It's just another kind of place and another island with another kind of tall-ish hill/mountain. And he basically says until you can find the rock, you can't have dinner. And that is just one aspect of the training. And after some time, he finally comes back down, eats food with Master Roshi. And frankly, they have quite a bit of training to get into. Like, quite a bit to really do. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of things to do. And there's a lot of things to train with, and Izuku is in for a long ride. I mean, from the idea of him actually having to carry a 50-pound turtle shell on his back to add resistance to his training in general, and eventually kind of like learning these advanced techniques, it it all kind of comes together to really become even better. I mean, the early kind of training goes from the idea of him carrying very heavy milk, delivering this very heavy milk. And on top of that, there's so much more as well. Long distance running, helping with kind of planting seeds in an entire farm. I mean, and then on top of that, at the end of the morning, or at the end of kind of the training, or the morning training, it's time, well, before lunch, to study. Something that Izuku really, really likes to get into, because studying not only just, in general, like general studies and stuff like that, they're also studying ways of martial arts. And this goes right down the alleyway of Izuku. And Izuku is basically shown to be, honestly, one of the best studies Master Roshi has ever seen. And this is a big thing for Master Roshi, but this also would include them with their afternoon trainings, where they would basically do things with construction, and other things like that, like wheelbarrowing, rocks, and shoveling rock and dirt, all of this stuff. Even later on, swimming and trying to do laps around a lake, and even trying to escape, a shark or multiple sharks at that time. And all of this is accumulating into peak training. I mean, even the final part of the training day, just one day, by the way, involves kind of being tethered to a tree with a beehive suspended, and the goal is to basically dodge these angry bees. And every single aspect, every single thing, every little bit has to be done every single day. And he does this on a daily basis. They even move him to kind of start doing homeschooling, where he is schooled by Master Roshi so that he can continue on with his studies, and frankly gets ahead on his studies quite a bit. Master Roshi being a wealth of knowledge, it helps him massively with getting ahead of the curve in terms of studies, in terms of skills, and in terms of just raw strength. But all of this is accumulating. All of this is for a reason, because Master Roshi is also teaching them the ability to utilize ki. Now, in terms of, flying, that's not something that he necessarily is going to teach them, at least not really ever, right? He can't even really fly himself. But there is something else that does allow him to fly, or allow some people to fly. And it really depends on who you are as a person. And Master Roshi would call it and would say, Nimbus, and he would show up. Nimbus, a cloud would show up, a kind of yellowish cloud, and he would say that yes, he could try to teach them how to fly try to teach him, or Izuku, how to fly utilizing the principles of ki. But in all honesty, trying to figure that out is very difficult. But utilizing ki within oneself already gives you a boost in strength, a boost in power, and a boost in ability. But the real way that he can fly is if he's pure of heart and he can fly on the Nimbus cloud. Izuku would ask how he would know if he's pure of heart. What if he's not? In which Master Roshi tells him to try. That's the only way to know. In which Izuku would walk up toward the cloud, and he would slowly but surely try to get on top of it. As he would sit down, he would be able to ride the cloud, and he would begin to fly with the cloud itself. And Izuku was in complete shock that he was able to actually do this. And on top of this, throughout the up and coming years, Izuku starts learning various techniques. For starters, the after image technique. That's one that Izuku is trying to learn, but also the Kamehameha, the vintage and also the made up technique by Master Roshi, something that is as powerful as could be and more powerful than you could imagine. But in all honesty, the Kamehameha might just be so advanced that it borderline is impossible for someone like Izuku to learn. But after years of training, Izuku would learn the after image technique and the Kamehameha wave, and on top of that, would even learn a couple other techniques that Master Roshi would put on his plate. Master Roshi would even bring up that the last time he saw these types of kind of advances in studies and really in technique kind of training was some old students he once knew when they were younger. But now he has this kid, right? Someone who doesn't have a quirk, but someone who is very adept to learning how to do things. The Kamehameha wave took him 100 years or 70 years, something along those lines, but it only took the kid a few years to truly master it. The after image technique, same thing to an extent, and it seems as if he was able to actually learn the after image technique pretty damn quickly. And that includes some of these other techniques like the Thundershock surprise attack. But of course, there is some more stuff that Master Roshi would love to teach him and still wants to teach him, even as he approaches the chance he wanted or he wants so dearly. And that is a chance to get into UA High School. And soon the UA Sport, or the, excuse me, not the UA Sports Festival, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. The UA entrance exam would be only days away. Izuku would travel back to the mainland, and now he has to put all the preparation that he's done forward. He comes home with kind of a new style of gear that was really made by Master Roshi, but also created through the eyes of Izuku. Izuku wanted a certain type of gear added with the Turtle Hermit shell as well, and that definitely is something that Izuku wanted to kind of take on more and more training as he goes, but also kind of wear something involving the Turtle Hermit School too. So as he's there and as he's back on the mainland, he's preparing the last couple days and resting and kind of studying up for that UA kind of the UA entrance exam. And as he's prepared, as he feels prepared, days would pass, and it would now be his chance to show what he's truly capable of. And he still wears his Turtle Hermit shell, and he walks up to the building, and he walks in with confidence in his mind. He sits down, and the person he sits down next to is Katsuki Bakugo, his old friend that he has not seen in a very long time. Bakugo's in shock, wondering what the hell he's even wearing, but also where he went. He disappeared for years, and Izuku says that he was homeschooled and he started his training and his preparation, in which he tells Izuku that if he's still quirkless, there's no way he's getting into UA High School, and if he's still quirkless, he's still useless. In which Izuku looks at him and says that he'll prove him wrong, and he'll prove every single person wrong, that you really can put hard work in and be the hero that you seek out to be. In which Izuku Midoriya does his written portion of the exam, and then he heads off to the practical, and this is where he shows everyone what he can do. He's wearing the Turtle Hermit shell, and this random guy, this nerdy guy, would actually tell him, like, what are you doing? Like, you can't even wear that. And which Izuku smiles and says he has no reason to wear it. He wasn't even thinking about wearing it. He was just wearing it for now, right? To get a little extra walking power in. In which Tenya Ida is confused. He's like, what the heck are you talking about? Izuku drops the shell as it smashes into the ground. All 50 pounds of it, kind of condensed in one place, makes a small little dent in the ground itself. And let's just say Tenya's like, what the hell? You were just wearing that? In which at one point it was 50 pounds. Now that he's older, now that he's more adept, and now he's stronger, it is a little bit heavier than normal. But at the same time, Tenya has no idea how he did that or where he's come from. And before you know it, Izuku Midoriya would be blitzing out to destroy these robots. And he absolutely crushes them, smacking them with a punch after punch after punch, not even utilizing any kind of beams or even like a ki blast to an extent. He just punches through them and he destroys them quickly, running through at insane speeds. And everybody's watching like, holy hell, what is this kid? How can he do this? Where did he even come from? And after some time, and after destroying a ton of robots, they would send out a 0-point robot, not only to give them a new look, but to challenge the kid, seeing if he'll actually take it on. And seeing that a girl is in trouble, Izuku jumps into action, remembering the words of Master Roshi to always protect women. But as he hears this, he thinks to himself, or as he kind of thinks about this, he thinks to himself like, you know what? He probably said that because of some dirty mind thing, but it is a good lesson to an extent. He jumps in front of Ochako and he begins to cup his hands and he begins to charge up his Kamehameha wave. Charging it up, and with one final ha, would send a giant blue beam straight toward the robot, absolutely pushing and destroying it in one singular blow. He would then remove all the rubble and pick up the girl as he would carry her over to safety and put her down to get helped by Recovery Girl. And before you know it, Izuku Midoriya would be gone as the sirens would blare, and as the kind of session was over, or the kind of entrance exam was over, he'd be gone before anyone could even stop him, before anyone could talk to him, before even the girl could even say a word to him. And Izuku Midoriya's would be gone, ready to train much more, because training with Master Roshi has given him a new purpose, a thrill to get stronger, and a want to get better. And he is already up for it. He's going for it, and he knows that he can do it. So he heads back to his mother and tells her that he wants to do some more training with Master Roshi. And this time around, Inko decides to take a bit of a kind of a break from work and head off with him as well. And as they arrive, of course, Master Roshi is definitely weird about Inko, but Inko would smack him in the face, and it would be all said and done, and everything would be all right. So as this is happening, though, Izuku begins to kind of learn more and continue with his regimen with Master Roshi. But the main thing is learning more techniques. And that's what he wants to do. Learning more techniques and hopefully learning how to fly. Which Master Roshi tells him, like, dude, I can teach you how to fly, but you have the flying Nimbus, so at least that's good enough. Let's focus on these other techniques first, and then we might be able to get to that eventually. But he tells him to be creative. Get creative, because that's what a martial artist's greatest weapon is his creativity. In which Izuku nods his head, and they begin training with a new technique. A technique that Master Roshi tells him is only for dire moments. Extremely, extremely dire moments. And even tells him that it will take a lot out of him. No matter what. He might be strong. Shoot. He might have already even eclipsed Master Roshi himself. But he tells him that it doesn't matter. That this takes a lot out of you no matter what. No matter what you're using it on and no matter what's happening, it will take a ton of energy out of you. In which, of course, Izuku hears him, and over the course of 2 weeks would continue the training to learn that technique, and eventually would head home and get the letter from All Might himself telling him that he made it into Class 1A, but he's not the number 1 student. He is a high-ranking student, though, being around the rank of 4, in which Izuku only really didn't get a higher score because he defended Ochako. Like, he could have racked up even more points quicker if he didn't have, well, for one, defend Ochako, which he did get some points from being, like, you know, the hero or rescue portion of it. But another thing is he could have gotten a lot more points if he didn't care about other people kind of getting a chance, which Izuku's just too nice. So he is still got a very high rank, but he just wasn't as high of a rank as he possibly could have been. Now, as this happens and as everything occurs, Izuku's first day at UA would eventually happen. And that first day would be an exciting first day for Izuku Midoriya. Because at the end of the day, Izuku's dream is slowly but surely being fulfilled. He steps into that classroom, he sits down, and he realizes that Bakugo is here, and many others are as well. But more specifically, Bakugo's already talking all this trash and saying all this kind of stupid stuff to him, right? Just saying all this dumb stuff where he's yapping about this, and saying that he's useless and this and that and this and that. And Izuku's like, whatever, right? Like, I can't handle it. So this is when they head off to the quirk assessment test. This is where Izuku shows off a ton of his capabilities, especially kind of coming from Master Roshi's training. His ball throw is actually super impressive, leading to Bakugo even attacking him. But before he could even, or Aizawa could even stop him, Izuku would turn and say Thundershock surprise attack. And boom, he would be immediately stunned and and just drastically smacked against the ground. And in which Aizawa smiles a little bit and tells the kid, or tells Bakugo, to think about what he does before he does it, because he just got absolutely smacked. Like, he got destroyed there. And Aizawa tells him that he got just served immediately, even though he thought he was so high and mighty. Just because you got a number 1 next to your name doesn't mean you're invincible. In which, of course, Izuku nods his head toward Aizawa and walks over as he continues this regimen of training. I mean, he knows how important it is to respect your senseis and really follow the rules, because he can get the most out of everything as long as he stays completely locked in. And that's something that Aizawa respects massively, and quickly he becomes Aizawa's favorite student. Now, as the quirk assessment is finished up, as Izuku proves the level he's at, which, by the way, is higher than everyone else, because he is now technically the first place in the quirk assessment, or he gets first place in the quirk assessment, but it doesn't make him the number 1 student, right? But this would lead him to actually taking on, the very next day, a heroes versus villains training. And this heroes versus villains training would involve him and Ochako versus Bakugo and Tenya Ida. And this right here is a pretty damn amazing thing to watch, because when Bakugo goes charging at him, trying to take him down, Izuku would make quick work of him with his martial arts skill, slamming him against the ground, knocking him out, and tying him up with capture tape. And as that occurs, and as that finishes up, he would head up toward where Tenya is, helping Ochako defeat him as well, touching the bomb in very quick succession. And everyone's watching, thinking that Izuku, well, he gives off a high level of strength. Like, he might just be the strongest person here. Now, of course, they do see Todoroki do his thing, so they're questioning a little bit, like, oh, maybe he's not. Like, Todoroki's pretty strong. But in all honesty, what shocks them the most is when Aizawa and All Might let it slip that the kid is quirkless. And everybody's like, what? No way he's quirkless. That doesn't even make sense. How is this a thing? In which Aizawa tells them all, and All Might even chimes in on this idea too, is that just because you're quirkless doesn't mean you can't put 10% more of effort into everything. 100% more effort. 120%. Even more. And you can tell that this kid, he didn't just put 100% effort, he put close to 500% effort. All he did was work hard. All he did was push himself. What he wanted was to be a hero, and he knew in his head that nothing was going to stop him. And that's what he believed. And Izuku, well, he just knows what he can do and knows that he's capable. And, well, he'll get a chance to prove all of this the very next training session, because as things would change, as things would progress, it seems like Izuku and his class head to the USJ, or a rescue facility. Pro Hero 13 is running the facility, and they walk in, and before you know it, portals would open up and villains would come pouring out. Aizawa would jump into action, and Izuku and some other classmates would get teleported to another area, but Izuku would be able to get out of harm's way with the help of Asui, and Asui helps him out, helps him up, and they kind of are in a safe spot to an extent. They're in a kind of a ship, or a kind of cruise-like ship, and they're dealing with some villains. And Izuku has an idea. He basically tells them that he can get them out of here, but he hopes they're pure of heart. He looks at Asui and thinks, yeah, you're definitely good. You're an absolute sweetheart. In which she's kind of like embarrassed by him saying this, but he's just openly honest about everything at this point. And he looks at Mineta and thinks, hell no. You are not getting on that Nimbus. You will fall straight through that thing, or it's going to kick you off quicker than you could imagine. And Izuku says, well, you're going to have to hang off of it. In which Asui says, that can happen, and we can do that. In which she wraps her tongue around his body, in which he makes some foul remark, and Asui slaps him, but immediately he would call for Nimbus. Calling for Nimbus, and they hop on Nimbus, and Asui follows as they dangle Mineta below, and Izuku, well, as they're flying by, would use a Thundershock surprise attack on the water, and would make it so all the villains would be out cold, or at least, like, you know, out for the count, at least for the most part, in which they would land on, well, dry land, and they would head up to the to get out of the area, but a portal would open up, and a hand would come through to grab Asui. But luckily enough, Aizawa is absolutely on it, but Izuku sees the Nomu come charging forward straight toward Aizawa. This is when Izuku jumps into action and attacks the Nomu. He would begin to fend off the Nomu, and honestly, he's doing pretty well. He tells Aizawa that he can handle this big guy, at least for the moment, and he tells him that he needs to get something, get a cup of some sorts, or something that they can put a cork in, or something they can, like, you know, cover up and seal, in which he looks and grabs a bottle and asks, "Is this good enough?" And he tells him yes. He would then explain to Aizawa while he's kind of fighting, and as he uses a Thundershock surprise attack to stun the Nomu, at least for a moment, tells him to basically make a symbol, telling him to make a specific symbol. And as Aizawa is drawing this, well, let's just say other villains are trying to attack. But luckily, some of the other students, like Bakugo and Todoroki, jump into the fray to help out, in which Aizawa asks the kid, what does he have in mind? In which he tells him to open the bottle and hold it tight, because this thing, it might give you a little bit of a backlash, or a little bit of whiplash, we'll see. In which he immediately would jump back away from the Nomu, and he'd put both of his hands out, and he would say, Mafuba. And as this is happening, as a green light would surround the Nomu, he would pick the Nomu up and he would send it directly toward the bottle. The bottle itself would basically kind of immediately go into the bottle, and he would cover the bottle up, and it seems like it would stop moving. Well, at the end of the day, the Nomu don't really know how to get out of the bottle in the first place. So yeah, the Nomu is stuck in that bottle, but at the same time, they didn't really even need the seal, because the Nomu wouldn't have been able to get out, because, well, it doesn't really have a functioning brain when away from his master, being that of Shigaraki. And in doing this, it gives them an opportunity with one Thundershock surprise attack and some explosions from Bakugo to grant them an opening to take down Shigaraki and Kurogiri pretty damn quickly, in which all this would ensue. And Izuku, well, he would help with obviously the defeat of the Nomu, and as All Might arrives, Shigaraki's put on the ground, completely captured and cuffed up, and that includes Kurogiri, completely captured and stopped entirely. And all the other heroes would eventually arrive, and All Might, well, he wasn't even needed. It seems like Izuku was able to handle the situation with his countless years of training with the greatest martial artist alive, being that of Master Roshi. And Izuku seems to be more prepared than what everyone else could possibly even think of. But being prepared is one thing, but also there is something else coming up very soon, and that includes the UA Sports Festival, a time where Master Roshi, well, he's happy to come out and watch his student kill it on every single aspect, and obviously take as much credit as he possibly can. Now, as he's there, and as he's watching, and as he's excited, he cheers on Izuku and all this other stuff, and Izuku even waves to him and waves to his mother. And as all this is happening, the first event is announced, and Master Roshi sees Midnight, and he begins to absolutely bleed from the nose like crazy. Now, with all that said, though, she would announce the first event, and that would be the obstacle course race. And of course, he's not allowed to use Nimbus, but he still is very quick, very fast, and has all the acrobatic ability to get in and out of every single aspect. In which Master Roshi's thinking, maybe I should have taught him how to fly, or at least tried to, because this would have been a lot easier. But still, Izuku's able to run through the entirety of the obstacle course race with very, very little trouble. And as all that is kind of happening and everything that's going on, he easily is the one that gets, well, first place. Now, this does put a target on his back, but frankly, people know how good he is at fighting in almost every single aspect. So really, there's quite a few people that want to be involved with his team. That actually includes someone from Class 1B by the name of Kendo. And this would happen with the cavalry battle. Kendo, Ochako, and Tokiyami would ask to be on his team, and Kendo would even introduce herself as a fellow martial artist, saying that she would love to train together sooner rather than later, in which Izuku nods and says that frankly, she or he probably has someone, or his sensei would probably love to work with her as well, so next time he goes train with him, he'll bring her as well. in which, of course, this definitely makes Izuku happy to basically have someone else interested in this type of training and martial arts, because I mean he's been doing it by himself for I don't know how long, so it's cool to have someone else involved. But with this team up, I mean, is easy as you can imagine. I mean, Izuku handles every little bit, every single person that comes their way. Kendo helps out as well with Tokiyami and Dark Shadow, and I'm gonna be honest, Ochako doesn't do a ton, but she's there for moral support, I guess you could say. And they defend everything to a T. And Izuku, well, he's given a chance to kind of take on that next event, being that of the 1 versus 1s. And the first one is against Hitoshi Shinso. And luckily enough, his mind and his ability and his calmness, it's all coming together, and his true aspirations of a martial artist are all together. So when Shinso starts talking all that smack, when he starts saying all these things, Izuku doesn't even respond. He eliminates him quicker than you'd think, and he tells him after the fact that he knows what he can do. He knows his quirk, he knows what he's capable of, and he tells him again that he's been making sure to keep tabs on all the competition to make sure that he's ready and prepared. And the next person he goes up against actually is Todoroki. And he tells Todoroki that this right here is going to be a spectacle that nobody here is going to want to miss. And their fight is pretty awesome, dodging ice blast after ice blast, and after glacier that he basically sends his way. After glacier, Izuku sees him slowing down, and he asks him, why not use your fire side? It'll counterbalance what's going on, blah blah blah. In which, of course, he ignores him. He basically ignores him for a while until it's basically like over, like you got no chance. He has no chance anymore. And Izuku tells him one last time to use it. Use the fire side. Show me your entire power. Show me everything. But Todoroki says that that's not his quirk and that it's his father's, and he wants to prove that he's blah, blah, blah. He's different and this and that. And which Izuku eventually says, like, that is your power. That is your strength. That is your quirk. And this eventually awakens the fire power within Todoroki, and with a blast of fire and ice at the same time versus Izuku's Kamehameha or Kamehameha wave, well, it is a spectacle. They clash, but the beam goes through and it knocks out Todoroki enough to where he doesn't get really hurt, but Izuku definitely gives it his all, and it shows the entirety of the way that he could do it. And this leads him to taking on Tenya Ida, and this fight is really nothing to write home about, and that would even include the final fight where he would take on Katsuki Bakugo, where again he would show Bakugo that he is levels above him and that there's no touching him, at least right now, and that his technique, his skills are just too good, and finding openings in his own technique is just way harder than Bakugo ever could imagine. Defeating him and standing tall as the one who won the UA Sports Festival and what a lot of people look at as the number one student now. Now, he's not technically the number one student, but a lot of people are going to look at it like that, and they see him as that number one student. This would get him a ton of offers. We're talking offer after offer after offer, but honestly, he doesn't really want any of these. It sounds weird, it sounds odd, but he wants something that will allow him to train better, get better, be stronger, and he flips through all of them, and eventually he sees something. He sees one. Mirko, the rabbit hero. He thinks this is perfect, like absolutely perfect. He can learn more martial arts, more kind of fighting skills, and all this stuff. And well, he would be definitely right. And when he meets Mirko for the first time, let's just say immediately his mind goes to, wow, thank goodness that Master Roshi isn't here, because he would be going absolutely buck wild. And he thinks that maybe Master Roshi needs to learn a little bit of respect himself and a little bit of restraint. Shoot, he might be the best martial artist in the universe if he got that side of him under control. Now, with all that said though, he would begin training with Mirko. Like, all they would do is fight. Fight, train. And this is what Izuku is accustomed to. He's always been accustomed to this. All he's done his entire life now, for the most part, ever since he learned that he didn't have a quirk basically, is train, is get stronger, is preparation. and he would do all this, and he would do it with a wide smile. He'd be excited, happy. Every aspect of him, he wants to train. He wants to get stronger. He wants to prove everyone wrong, and he wants to prove that having no quirk doesn't mean you can't be a hero, and doesn't mean you can't be better than those with a quirk. But after days of training, Mirko would eventually meet up with him once again and tell him that they had bad news, that he has to go back right now. In which Izuku's like, wait, like why? What did he do? Like he'll do better at the Mirko kicking style. Like he needs to just some time to figure it out. In which Mirko says, no, it has nothing to do with that. Actually, he's gone that pretty down. But it's actually one of his classmates. In which Izuku's like, what? What are you talking about? In which he learns that Tenya Ida is in the hospital and he's been severely injured by the hero killer. In which this would be a shocking revelation, something that he doesn't even know how to really kind of understand. He doesn't even know how to like really break down in his own head that one of his own classmates, a student that he knows, someone he knows, got hurt so bad that, well, let's just say there might not be a hero, or they could possibly never be a hero ever again. And this makes him extremely sad. But at the same time, he knows that he can't dwell on that. He can't just be sad about that. And he knows that there's just more to what he's doing, and this just is another factor he has to really push forward on, because just because one of his friends are hurt and may not be the same hero that many want to be, he needs to be that hero for his friend. And after Aizawa gives a little bit of a speech, as everybody is told about final exams, Izuku is locked in and prepared. He studies up extremely hard with a lot of his classmates, preparing for the final exam. And on top of that, he begins training with various other people like Kendo from Class B and some other students from Class 1A to get even more prepared for the practical. And the practical itself, well, let's just say it would be an interesting one, because Izuku Midoriya and Katsuki Bakugo would be taking on the one and only All Might. And that right there would be shocking. I mean, no pun intended with the Thunder Shock surprise attack, but it would be absolutely shocking. But Izuku knows that he can do this, that he can prove to everyone that a quirkless hero is not far-fetched, and he knows that he can do this. And a fight would break out, and Bakugo and him would go fighting All Might. And yes, Bakugo tries to do it on his own, but Izuku tells him that they have to do it together, in which Izuku basically comes up with some sort of a plan that allows him to actually have a gauntlet of Bakugos, and out of nowhere, well, All Might wouldn't realize, but an explosion would ring out, completely covering the face of All Might. Bakugo would retreat, and he would tell Deku, he would tell him to hurry up and do it. As the smoke would eventually clear, All Might would push the smoke out of the way, and he would see Izuku standing there, charging up a Kamehameha wave. Ka-me-ha-me. And then he released it with one singular ha, as he would send it flying toward All Might. And this beam of this blue beam would send him crashing through building after building after building. And Izuku would tell him that they need to go like now. In which he asked, why? Like, you don't think that defeated him? That you don't think that killed him? In which, of course, he looks at Bakugo and tells him, hell no, that he didn't have enough time to even charge up a beam that would be strong enough to kill him. At least not right now. I mean, he still, he still hasn't perfected the Kamehameha wave. In which Bakugo's like, what the hell you mean you haven't perfected that thing? In which Izuku shrugs his shoulders, and he said that his master came up with it, and it took him like 70 years. In which immediately Bakugo's like, what kind of freakish thing have you been up to? In which she's like, I don't know. In which immediately they would go dashing toward the exit, as All Might would closely follow behind, but pretty damn hurt. Even surprising Bakugo and Izuku that he actually did get hurt quite a bit. But he would go dashing at them to try to stop them, but they would get over that line and get out of the exit just in time, and they would pass. Both of them would pass, as both of them would have essentially defeated All Might to an extent, and they would pass, well, as a team, which is kind of funny to think about, especially because we all know how bad they work as a team, or at least how bad Bakugo works as a team to an extent. But as they escape, as they are allowed to go to the forest training camp, and as All Might feels like they are far more ready than what anybody would expect, Izuku, Bakugo, and all the other classmates would head off to the forest training camp for the training of their lives. For a week or two straight, that's all they do. Train, train, train. But when they get back, when they finally get back, they see something on the television screen that would make them hold their breath. And that would be All Might and All For One clashing one last time. And the fight is a spectacle, but All Might, with one last swoop, or one last punch and one last United States of Smash, would defeat him and would raise his fist and point toward the cameras, telling the viewer that you are next, in which everybody would cheer. And it seems like the end of an era of League of Villains, or the villains in general, seems to be coming to an end. But there's always more villains around the corner, and always more villains to deal with. But Izuku, Midori, and Class 1A, well, they have the potential to handle it all. But on top of that, they have their own views and training to get into, because yes, they're going to be working on their super moves, but they will also be headed off to deal with their provisional hero license exam to see if they can truly become a part-time hero. But with all that said, that is where we're going to end off part 1 of 2 of What If Deku Was Trained by Master Roshi. And if you enjoyed, please show some love, leave a like, leave a sub, and leave a comment down below. All that good stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And yeah, that's all I got to say. Shout out to Master Elite again for the idea. And I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.